were worried about vaginas.
We were worried about what we think about vaginas, and even more worried that we don't think about them. We were worried about our own vaginas. They needed a context of other vaginas, a community, a culture of vaginas. There's so much darkness and secrecy surrounding them, like the Bermuda Triangle. Nobody ever reports back from there.
In the first place, it's not so easy to find your vagina. Women go weeks, months, even years without looking at it. A high-powered businesswoman told us that was interviewed, and she said that she was too busy. She didn't have time. Looking at your vagina, she said, is a full day's work. You have to get down there on your back, in front of a mirror that's standing in front of you, full length preferred. You've got to get in the perfect position, with the perfect light, which is then shadowed somehow by the mirror and the angle that you're at, and then you get all twisted up. Your back is all arched, and your back is killing you. You're exhausted by then. She said she didn't have the time. She was too busy.
So, there were vagina interviews, which became vagina monologues. Over 200 women were interviewed. Older women, young women, married women, lesbians, single women, college professors, actors, corporate professionals, sex workers, African American women, Asian American women, Hispanic women, Native American women, Caucasian women, Jewish women. Okay, at first, women were reluctant to talk. They were a little shy. But once they got going, you couldn't stop them. Women secretly love to talk about their vaginas. They get very excited, mainly because no one has ever asked them before.
Let's just start with the word vagina. It sounds like an infection at best, maybe a medical instrument. Hurry, nurse, bring me the vagina. Vagina, vagina. Doesn't matter how many times you say it, it never sounds like a word you want to say. It's a totally ridiculous, completely unsexy word. If you use it during sex, trying to be politically correct, oh darling, could you stroke my vagina? You kill the act right there.
We were worried about vaginas, what you call them and what you don't call them.
In Great Neck, they call it pussycat. A woman there said her mother used to tell her, don't wear panties underneath your pajamas, dear. You need to air out your pussycat.
In Westchester, they call it a cookie.
In New Jersey, a twat.
There's powder box, a poochie, a poopy, a peepee, a poopala, a punani, a pal, and a coochie.
Toady, Dee-Dee, Nishi, Dignity, Monkey Box,
Coochie snorter, cooter, labby.
Gladys Siegelman.
VA, Wee-Wee, Horse Spot, Nappy Dugout,
Mongo, Buki, a pajama, fanny boo, marshmallow.
A ghoulie, possible, tamale, tatita, connie.
a Mimi in Miami,
Split Condition, Philadelphia.
And a Schmindy in the Bronx.
We're
We are
worried
worried about
vaginas.
Good evening, everybody. It's really great to have you all here. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Vagina Monologues. As you heard, they started out as interviews with many women about their vaginas, and it turned into Vagina Monologues. From there, Eve Ensler, who wrote the Vagina Monologues, created this wonderful organization called V-Day. And V-Day Safe, Urban Women's Safe Haven is another one of our beneficiaries here in Brooklyn. It's a women's shelter. And Sanctuary for Families. So I'd like to thank you all for coming. Some of the monologues are based on one woman's story. Some of the monologues are based on several women's stories surrounding the same theme. And a few times, a good idea became an outrageous one. This monologue is based on one woman's story. Although the subject came up in every interview and was often fraught, the subject being hair.
You cannot love a vagina unless you love hair. Many people do not love hair. My first and only husband hated hair. He said it was cluttered and dirty. He made me shave my vagina. It looked puffy and exposed and like a little girl. This excited him. When he made love to me, my vagina felt the way beard must feel. It felt good to rub it and painful, like scratching a mosquito bite. It felt like it was on fire. There were screaming red bumps. I refused to shave it again. Then my husband had an affair. When we went to marital therapy, he said he screwed around because I wouldn't please him sexually. I wouldn't shave my vagina. The therapist had a German accent. She gasped between sentences to show her empathy. I told her. She asked me why I didn't want to please my husband. I told her I thought it was weird. I felt little when my hair was gone down there, and I couldn't help talking in a baby voice. And even calamine lotion wouldn't help. She told me marriage was a compromise. I asked her if shaving my vagina would stop him from screwing around. I asked her if she had many cases like this before. She said that questions diluted the process. I needed to jump in. She was sure it was the good beginning. This time when we got home, he got to shave my vagina. It was like a therapy bonus prize. He clipped it a few times, and there was even a little blood in the bathtub. He didn't notice because he was so happy shaving me. Then later, when my husband was pressing against me, I could feel his spiky sharpness sticking into me. My naked, puffy vagina. There was no protection. There was no fluff. I realized then that hair is there for a reason. It's the leaf around the flower, the lawn around the house. You have to love hair in order to love the vagina. You can't pick the parts you want. And besides, my husband never stopped screwing around.
All of the women were asked the following questions.
If your vagina got dressed, what would it wear?
A beret, glasses, a leather jacket, silk stockings, mink, a pink boa.
A male tuxedo, jeans, something form-fitting.
Emeralds, an evening gown, sequins,
Armani only.
a tutu, see-through black underwear, a taffeta ball gown.
Something machine washable.
Costume I ask, purple velvet pajamas, angora, a red bow.
Ermine and pearls, a leopard hat, a silk kimono, sweatpants, a tattoo.
An electrical shock device to keep unwanted strangers away.
High heels, lace and combat boots. Purple feathers, twigs, and shells. Cotton,
A pinafore,
A bikini.
a slicker,
If your vagina could talk, what would it say? Two
Slow.
words.
slow down. This might be the International Vagina Anthem.
is that you?
Feed me. I want. Yum, yum. Oh, yeah.
Start again? No, over there. Lick me. Stay home. Brave choice.
Think again. More, please. Embrace me. Let's play.
Don't stop. More, more. Remember me?
Come inside. Not yet. Whoa, mama. Yes, yes. Rock me.
Enter at your own risk.
Oh, God. Thank God. I'm here. Let's go. Find me.
Thank you. Bonjour. Too hard. Don't give up.
Where's Brian? That's better. Yes, there. There.
A group of women between the ages of 65 and 75 was interviewed. These interviews were the most poignant, possibly because many of these women had never had a vagina interview before. One woman who was 72 had never even seen her vagina. She washed herself in the shower and the bath, but never with conscious intention. She had never had an orgasm. At 72, she went into therapy, as we do here in New York, and with the help of her therapist, she went home one afternoon by herself, lit some candles, took a bath, played some music. She got down with herself. She said it took her over an hour because she was arthritic. When she finally found her clitoris, she said she cried. This monologue is for her, the flood.
Down there? I haven't been down there since 1953. No, it had nothing to do with Eisenhower. No, it's a cellar down there. It's very damp, clammy. You don't want to go down there. Trust me. You get sick. Suffocating. Very nauseating. The smell of the clamminess and the mildew and everything, smells unbearable. Gets into your clothes. No, there was no accident down there. It didn't blow up or catch fire or anything. It wasn't so dramatic. I mean, well, never mind. No, never mind. I can't talk to you about this. What's a smart girl like you going around talking to old ladies about their down there sport? We didn't do this kind of thing when I was a girl. What? Jesus? Okay. There was this boy, Andy Lepcott. He was cute. Well, I thought so. And tall, like me. And I really liked him. He asked me out for a date in his car. I can't tell you this. I can't do this. Talk to you about down there. You just know it's there, like the cellar. There's rumbles down there sometimes. You can hear the pipes, and things get caught. Little animals and things. And it gets wet, and sometimes people have to plug up the leaks. Otherwise, the door stays closed. You forget about it. I mean, it's part of the house, but you don't see it or think about it. It has to be there, though, because every house needs a cellar. Otherwise, the bedroom would be in the basement. Oh, Andy, right. Andy was very good-looking. He was a catch. That's what we called it in my day. We were in his car, a new white Chevy Bel Air. I remember thinking that my legs were too long for the seat. I had long legs. They were smushed up against the dashboard. I was looking at my big kneecaps when he just kissed me in this surprisingly take me by control like they do in the movies kind of a way. And I got excited. So excited. And well, there was a flood down there. I couldn't control it. It was like this force of passion, this river of life just flooded right out of me, right through my panties, right onto the car seat of this new white Chevy Bel Air. It wasn't pee, and it was smelly. Well, frankly, I didn't really smell anything. home without saying another word. And when I got out and closed his car door, I closed the whole store, locked it, never opened for business again. I dated some after that, but the idea of flooding made me too nervous. I never even got close again. I used to have dreams, crazy dreams. Oh, they're dopey. Why Burt Reynolds? I don't know why. He never did much for me in life, but in my dreams, it was always Burt and I, Burt and I, Burt and I. It was always the same general dream. We'd be out, Burt and I. It was some restaurant like the kind you see in Atlantic City, with big chandeliers and stuff, and thousands of waiters with those vests. Burt would give me an orchid corsage. I'd pin it on my blazer. We'd laugh. We were always laughing, Burt and I. Laughing, laughing. We'd eat shrimp cocktail. Huge shrimp. Fabulous shrimp. We laughed more. We were very happy together. Then he'd look into my eyes and pull me to him in the middle of the restaurant. And just as he was about to kiss me, the whole restaurant would start to shake. Pigeons would fly out from under the tables. What those pigeons were doing there, I do not know. And the blood would come straight from down there. It would pour out of me. It would pour and pour. There'd be fish inside, and little boats, and the whole restaurant would fill with my blood. And Burt would be standing there, waist deep in it, looking horribly disappointed in me that I'd done it again. Horrified as he watched his friends, Dean Martin and the like, swim past us in their tuxedos and evening gowns. I don't have those dreams anymore. Not since they took away just about everything connected with down there. Moved out the uterus, the tubes, the whole works. The doctor thought he was a real comedian. He told me, if you don't use it, you lose it. But really, I found out it was cancer. Everything around it had to go. Who needs it anyhow? Highly overrated. I've done other things. I love the dog shows. I sell antiques. You ask me what it would wear? What kind of question is that? It would wear a big sign. Closed due to flooding. What would it say? I told you, it's not like that. It's not like a person who speaks. It's stopping a thing like that a long time ago. It's a place you don't go. It's closed up, under the house, it's down there. You happy? You made me talk? You got it out of me? You got an old lady to talk about her down there? You feel better now? You know, actually, you're the first person I ever told about this. And I feel a little better.
Vagina workshop.
My vagina is a shell, a round, pink, tender shell. Opening and closing, closing and opening. My vagina is a flower, an eccentric tulip, the center acute and deep, the petals gentle but sturdy. I did not always know this. I learned this from a woman who believes in vaginas. I learned this in the vagina workshop. I learned this from a woman who really sees vaginas, who helps women see their vaginas by seeing other women's vaginas. In the first session, the woman who runs the vagina workshop asked us to draw a picture of our own unique, beautiful, fabulous vagina. That's what she called it. She wanted to know what our own unique, beautiful, fabulous vaginas look like to us. One woman who was pregnant drew a big red screaming mouth, coin spilling out. Another skinny woman drew a big serving plate with a kind of Devonshire pattern. I drew a big black dot with squiggly lines around it. The black dot was equal to the black hole in space. And the squiggly lines were meant to be people or things, or just your basic, everyday atom that got lost there. I'd always thought of my vagina as an anatomical vacuum, randomly sucking up particles and objects from the surrounding environment. I always perceived my vagina as an independent entity, spinning like a star in its own galaxy, eventually burning up on its own gaseous energy, or exploding and splitting into thousands of other smaller vaginas, and each of them spinning in their own galaxies. I did not think of my vagina in practical or biological terms. I did not, for example, see it as a part of my body, something between my legs and attached to me. In the workshop, we were asked to look at our vaginas with a hand mirror. Then, after careful examination, we were to verbally report back to the group what we saw. I must tell you that up to this point, everything I knew about my vagina was completely based on hearsay or invention. I had never really seen the thing. It had never occurred to me to look at it. My vagina existed for me on some abstract plane. It seemed so reductive and awkward to look at it. Getting down there as we did on our shiny blue mats with our hand mirrors, it reminded me how early astronomers must have felt with their primitive telescopes. I found it quite unsettling at first in my vagina. Like looking for the first time when you see a fish cut open and you discover this other bloody, complex world inside, right beneath the skin. So raw and red and fresh. And the thing that surprised me most were all the layers. Layers inside layers, opening into more layers. My vagina amazed me. I couldn't speak when it came my turn in the workshop. I was speechless. I had awakened to what the woman who ran the workshop called vaginal wonder. I wanted to lie on my mat, my legs spread, examining my vagina forever. It was better than the Grand Canyon, ancient and full of grace. It had the innocence and freshness of a proper English garden. It was funny, really funny. It made me laugh. We played hide and seek, could open and close. It was the mouth, it was the morning. Then, the woman who ran the workshop asked how many women in the workshop had had orgasm. 2 women tentatively raised their hands. I didn't raise my hand, but I had had orgasms. I didn't raise my hand because they were accidental orgasms. They'd happened to me. They happened in my dreams, and I would wake in splendor. They happened in water, mostly in the bath, once in Cape Cod. They happened on horses, on bicycles, and at the treadmill at the gym. I did not raise my hand because although I had had orgasms, I didn't know how to make one happen. I thought it was a mystical, magical thing, and I didn't want to interfere. Kind of felt wrong getting involved, contrived, manipulative. It felt Hollywood. Orgasms by a formula? The surprise would be gone, and the mystery. The problem, of course, was that the surprise had been gone for 2 years. I hadn't had a magical, accidental orgasm in a long time, and I was frantic. That's why I was in the workshop. And then the moment had arrived that I both dreaded and secretly longed for. The woman who ran the workshop asked us to take out our hand mirrors again and to see if we could locate our clitoris. Our hand mirrors, we were there, the group of us women, on our backs, on our mats, finding our spots, our locus, our reason, and I don't know why, but I started to cry. Maybe it was sheer embarrassment. Maybe it was knowing that I had to give up the fantasy, the enormous life-consuming fantasy, that someone or something was going to do this for me. The fantasy that someone was coming to lead my life, to choose my direction, and to give me orgasms. I was used to living off the record in a magical, superstitious way. So this whole clitoris finding, this wild workshop on shiny blue mats, was making the whole thing real, too real. I could feel the panic coming. The simultaneous terror and realization that avoided finding my clitoris had rationalized it as mainstream, consumeristic, because I was, in fact, terrified that I did not have a clitoris. Terrified that I was one of those constitutionally incapables, one of those frigid, dead, shut down, dry, apricot-tasting, bitter. Oh my God. I lay there with my mirror, looking for my spot, reaching with my fingers, and all I could think about was a time when I was 10 and I'd lost my gold ring with the emeralds in the lake. How I kept diving over and over to the bottom of the lake, running my hand over the stones and fish caps and bottles and slimy stuff, but never my ring. The panic I felt, I knew I'd be punished. I shouldn't have worn it swimming. The woman who ran the workshop saw my scrambling and sweating and heavy breathing. She came over. I told her, I've lost my clitoris. I shouldn't have worn it swimming. The woman who ran the workshop laughed. She calmly stroked my forehead. She told me my clitoris was not something I could lose. It was me, the essence of me. It was both the doorbell to the house and the house itself. I didn't have to find it. I had to be it. Be it. Be my clitoris. Be my clitoris. I lay back and closed my eyes, and I put the mirror down. I watched myself float above myself. I watched as I slowly began to approach myself and re-enter. I felt like an astronaut re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. It was quiet, this re-entry, quiet and gentle. I bounced and landed and bounced. I came into my own muscles and blood and cells, and then I just slid into my vagina. It was suddenly easy, and I fit. I was all warm and pulsing and ready and young and alive. And then, without looking, with my eyes still closed, I put my finger on what had suddenly become me. There was a little quivering at first, which urged me to stay. Then the quivering became a quake, an eruption, and those layers, they began dividing and subdividing. The quaking broke into an ancient horizon of light and silence, which opened into a plane of music and colors and innocence and longing, and I felt connection. Calling connection as I lay there, thrashing about on my little blue mat. My vagina is a shell, a tulip, and a destiny. I am arriving as I'm beginning to leave. My vagina is me.
Here is the Vagina Habit Fact. This is from Woman, an Intimate Geography by Natalie Ange. The clitoris is pure in purpose. It is the only organ in the body designed purely for pleasure. The clitoris is simply a bundle of nerves, 8,000 nerve fibers to be precise. That is a higher concentration of nerve fibers than is found anywhere else in the male or female body, including the fingertips, lips, and tongue, and it is twice the amount that in the penis. Who needs a handgun? We've got a semi-automatic.
This monologue was based on an interview with a woman who had a good experience with man because he liked to look at it.
This is how I came to love my vagina. It's embarrassing because it's not politically correct. I mean, I know it should have happened in the bath with salt grains from the Dead Sea, Enya playing, me loving my woman self. I know the story, vaginas are beautiful. Our self-hatred is the only internalized repression and hatred of the patriarchal culture. It isn't real, pussies unite.
I know all of it. Like if we'd grown up in a culture where we were taught fat thighs are beautiful, we'd all be pounding down milkshakes and Krispy Kremes, lying on our backs, spending our days thigh expanding. But unfortunately, we didn't grow up in that culture. I hated my thighs and I hated my vagina even more. I thought it was incredibly ugly. I was one of those women who had looked at it and from that moment on, wished I had it. It made me sick. I pitied anyone who had to go down there. In order to survive, I began to pretend there was something else between my legs. I imagined furniture. Cozy futons with light cotton comforters, little velvet settees, leopard rugs, or pretty things. Silk handkerchiefs, quilted potholders, or place settings. I got so accustomed that I lost all memory of having a vagina. Whenever a man was inside me, I pictured him as a milk-lined muffler or a Chinese bowl. Then I met George. George was the most ordinary man I'd ever met. He was thin and tall and nondescript and wore khaki tan clothes. George didn't like spicy foods or listen to Prince. He had no interest in sexy lingerie. In the summer, he spent time in the shade. He didn't share his inner feelings. He didn't have any problems or issues. Wasn't even an alcoholic. He wasn't funny or articulate or mysterious. He wasn't mean or unavailable. He wasn't self-involved or charismatic. He didn't even drive fast. I didn't particularly like George. I would have missed him altogether if he hadn't picked up my change that I dropped on the deli floor. When he handed me back my quarters and pennies and his hand accidentally touched mine, something happened. I went to bed with him. That's when the miracle occurred. Turned out George loved vaginas. He was a connoisseur. He loved the way they felt, the way they tasted, the way they smelled, but most importantly, he loved the way they looked. He had to look at them. The first time we had sex, he told me he had to see me. Right here, I said. No, you, he said. I have to see you. Turn on the light, I said, thinking he was a weirdo and freaking out in the dark. He turned on the light. Right then he said, okay, I'm ready to see you. Right here, I waved, I'm right here. Then he began to undress me. What are you doing, George, I said. I need to see you, he replied. No need, I said, just do it. I need to see what you look like, he said. But you've seen a red leather couch before, I said. George continued, he would not stop. I wanted to throw up and die. This is awfully intimate, I said. Can't you just do it? No, he said, it's who you are. I need to look. I held my breath. He looked and looked. He got breathy and his face changed. He didn't look ordinary anymore. He looked like a hungry beast. You're so beautiful, he said. You're elegant and deep and innocent and wild. You saw that there, I said? It was like he read my palm. I saw that, he said, and more. Much, much more. He stayed looking for almost an hour, as if he were studying a map, observing the moon, staring into my eyes, but it was my vagina. In the light, I watched him looking at me, and he was so genuinely excited, so peaceful and euphoric, I began to get wet and turned on. I began to see myself the way he saw me. I began to feel beautiful and delicious, like a great painting or a waterfall. George wasn't afraid, he wasn't grossed out. I began to swell, began to feel proud, began to love my vagina. And George, he lost himself there. And I was there with him, in my vagina, and we were done.
Chancellor with women from the Oglala Lakota Nation on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. Their stories reflect the challenges that Native women face every day, living in isolation and without resources. According to the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics, the average annual rate of rape and sexual assault among American Indian women is 3.5 times higher than all other races. The Crooked Braid.
He wanted to go out. He said to me, "You stay home." I said, "I wanted to go out." He said, "You have a baby." I said, "It's our baby." I laid the baby down. He probably felt my tension because he was whimpering. Baby. I looked up and he slapped me. My husband. Another blast that knocked your eyes blue. That came later. It was a smack. A hard, domestic smack. He looked at me. He was smiling. I couldn't believe it. He was smiling. He slapped me again. His dad was whispering to his mother. I saw him smile. What was that? He was the nicest person. He had long black hair. Combing his long hair when he made love, it got loose. He took me to dinner, made me go out with his boss. I didn't want to go. He kicked me under the table, told me to look happy, told me to smile. I smiled. He kicked me again, asked me who I was trying to fuck, asked me to stop coming on to everyone. I stopped smiling. He kicked me again. This went on and on. Outside the restaurant, he grabbed my hair and pulled me down to the curb. It had been snowing. He buried me in the snow. He pounded me in the gutter. The snow was melting. It was sloppy and mud. My hair felt like it was bleeding. I ran to. He was drinking. I was too. I must have blacked out. I woke up in the hospital after 5 brain surgeries. My hair was gone. They shaved it off. I had to relearn to talk and move my arms. It took me 4 months to remember how to cook breakfast. I remember putting the egg in the frying pan with the bacon. I knew the egg felt right, I just didn't remember to crack it open. Just the egg in the frying pan, in its shell. My head was gone. After 18 years, he beat me in the morning. When he was so nice again, I would braid his long hair. I would take my time like I cared so much, and I would do it perfectly crooked. I would make the hair so they would stand up all crazy-like. Then he'd go forgetting that the bruises on my face were his handprints. He'd walk all cocky in the street, all macho in the road, but his braid would be so crooked and look so stupid and wrong. This shouldn't have made me that happy. It really just shouldn't have made me that happy. Heard that he was out with a woman, making love, and she was fluffing his hair when he was wild on top of her. He came home much later, and his hair was braided up all bright and tight. He passed out from drinking. Then I got up with scissors as he snored and slowly walked to him and just cut the braid off, completely off, and put it in his hand so that when he woke up, he screamed, "What the fuck? I'm gonna kill you!" And he jumped up, but I had tied his shoes so he couldn't run. I didn't go back to him for 3 years until I knew that his hair had grown out again. I didn't want to have sex with him. He was drunk. I was just a piece of meat to him, a big hole. I tried to pretend I was asleep. He elbowed me, jerked me, pulled me up. I remember thinking, just get it over with. He was soft and kept pumping and pumping until it got sore. I said, "It didn't feel good." He said, "Who are you with? Was he bigger than me? Did you like it?" You're like a mouse with a lion. You have to move fast to the door. He picked me up like I was a rag. His eyes were numb. I
could hear my son screaming. His mouth was open and his tonsil like C's tonsil. And my husband beat the shit out of me. He wrapped my long hair around his hand and jerked my head. I tried to get my son. That's not your son, he said, holding my hair in his hand. That's not your son anymore. Now he calls me at the middle of the night, weeping. He didn't mean to beat his wife. He didn't mean to batter her. He's suicidal. He knows what his mother went through. But he can't stop. My son. They took our land. They took our ways. They took our men. We want them back.
Many women were interviewed about menstruation. The choral thing began to occur, a kind of wild collective song. Women echoed each other. The voices bled into one another.
Second grade, 7 years old. My brother was talking about periods. I didn't like the way he was laughing. I went to my mother. What's a period? I said. It's punctuation, she said. You put it at the end of a sentence.
My father brought me a card to my little girl who isn't so little anymore.
I was terrified. My mother showed me the thick sanitary napkin. I was to bring the used ones to the can underneath the kitchen sink.
I remember being one of the last. I was 13.
We all wanted it to come.
I was so afraid. I started putting the used pads in brown paper bags in dark storage places under the roof.
8th grade. My mother said, "Oh, that's nice."
In junior high, the brown drips came, coincided with little hair under my arms, which grew unevenly. One armpit had hair, the other didn't.
I was 16, sort of scared.
My mother gave me cozy. We had bunk beds. I went down and lay there. My mother was so uncomfortable.
One night, I came home late and snuck into bed without turning on the lights. My mother had found the used pads and put them between the sheets of my bed.
I was 12 years old, still in my underpants. Hadn't gotten dressed. Looked down on the staircase. There it was.
Looked down, I saw blood.
7th grade. My mother sort of noticed my underwear. Then she gave me plastic diapers.
My mom was very warm. "Let's get you a pad."
My friend, Marcia, they celebrated when they got hers. They had dinner for her.
We all wanted our periods.
We all wanted it now.
13 years old. It was before Kotex. Had to watch your dress. I was black and poor. Blood on the back of my dress in church. Didn't show, but I was guilty.
I was 10 and a half. No preparation. Brown look on my underpants.
She showed me how to put in a tampon. I only got in halfway.
I associated my period with inexplicable phenomena.
My mother told me I had to use a rag. My mother said no to tampons. You couldn't put anything in your sugar dish.
Wore wads of cotton. Told my mother. She gave me Elizabeth Taylor paper dolls.
15 years old. My mother said, "Mazel tov." She slapped me in the face. Didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing.
My period? Like cake mix before it's baked. Indians sat on moss for 5 days. Wish I were Native American.
I was 15. I'd been hoping to get it. I was tall and kept growing.
When I saw white girls in the gym with tampons, I thought they were bad girls.
Saw Little Rick drop some red tiles. I said, "Yeah."
My mom was glad for me.
Used OB. Liked putting my fingers up there.
11 years old, wearing white pants. Blood started to come out.
thought it was dreadful.
I wasn't ready.
I got pains. I got horny.
12 years old, I was happy. My friend had a Ouija board, and we asked it when we were going to get our periods. I looked down and saw blood.
Looked down, there it was.
I'm a woman. Terrified.
Never thought it would come.
Changed my whole feeling about myself. I became very silent and mature. A good Vietnamese woman. Quiet worker. Virtuous. Never speaks.
9.5. I was sure I was bleeding to death. Rolled up my underwear, threw it in the corner, didn't want my parents to worry.
My mother made me hot water and wine, and I fell asleep.
I was in the bedroom in my mother's apartment. I had a comic book collection. My mother said, "You mustn't lift your box of comic books."
My girlfriends told me that you hemorrhage every month.
My mother was in and out of mental hospitals. She couldn't take my coming of age.
Dear Miss Carlin, please excuse my daughter from basketball. She has just matured.
At camp, they told me not to take a bath with my period. They wiped me down with antiseptic.
Scared people would smell it. Scared they'd say I smell like fish.
Growing up, couldn't eat.
I got hungry.
Sometimes it's very red.
I like the drops that drop into the toilet, like paint.
Sometimes it's brown, and that disturbs me.
I was 12. My mother slapped me and brought me a red cotton shirt. My father went out for a bottle of sangria.
This is a not-so-happy fact found in the New York Times, April 1996, and updated to reflect more recent statistics. Female genital mutilation has been inflicted on approximately 130 million girls and young women. In countries where it is practiced, mostly in Africa, about 2 million youngsters a year can expect the knife, or the razor, or a glass shard to cut their clitoris or to remove it altogether. In a man, it would range from amputation of most of the penis to removal of all of the penis. Short-term results include tetanus, hemorrhages, pus in the urethra, bladder, and vaginal walls. Long-term, chronic uterine infection, increased agony, and danger during childbirths, and early deaths.
My vagina's angry. It is. It's pissed off. My vagina is furious, and it needs to talk. It needs to talk about all this shit. It needs to talk to you. I mean, what's the deal? An army of people out there thinking up ways to torture my poor-ass, gentle, loving vagina. Spending their days constructing psycho products and nasty ideas to undermine my pussy. Vagina motherfuckers. All this shit they're constantly trying to shove up us, clean us up, stuff us up, make it go away. Well, my vagina is not going away. It's pissed off and it's staying right here. Like tampons. What the hell is that? A dry wad of fucking cotton stuck up there. Can't they find a way to softly lubricate a tampon? As soon as my vagina sees it, it goes into shock. It says forget it. It closes up. You need to work with the vagina. Introduce it to things. Prepare the way. That's what foreplay's all about. You've got to convince my vagina, seduce my vagina, engage my vagina's trust. You can't do that with a dry wad of fucking cotton. Stop shoving things up me. Stop shoving and stop cleaning it up. My vagina does not need to be cleaned up. It smells good already. Don't try to decorate, and don't believe him when he tells you it smells like roses when it's supposed to smell like pussy. That's what they're doing, trying to clean it up, make it smell like bathroom spray or a garden. All those douche sprays, floral, berry, rain. I don't want my pussy to smell like rain. All cleaned up. up like washing a fish after you cooked it. I want to taste the fish. That's why I ordered it. Then there's those exams. Who thought them up? There has got to be a better way to do those exams. Why the scratchy paper dress that scratches your tits and crunches when you lay down so you feel like a wad of paper somebody threw away? Why the rubber gloves? Why the flashlight of Nancy Drew trying to work against gravity? Why the Nazi steel stirrups? The mean cold duck lips they shove inside you? What's that? My vagina is angry about those visits. It gets defended weeks in advance. It won't go out of the house. You get there, don't you hate that? Scoot down, relax your vagina. What? So you can shove mean cold duck lips inside it? I don't think so. Why can't they find some nice, delicious purple velvet and wrap me in it? Lay me down on some feathery cotton spread, put on some nice, friendly pink or blue gloves, and rest my feet on some fur-covered stirrups. Warm up the duck lips. With my vagina. But no, more tortures. Dry water fucking cotton, cold duck lips, and thong underwear. That's the worst. Thong underwear. Who thought that up? Moves around all the time, gets stuck in the back of your crusty butt. Vagina's supposed to be loose and wide, not held together. That's why girls are so bad. We need to move and spread and talk. Vaginas need comfort. Make something like that. Something to give them pleasure. No, of course we won't do that. Hate to see women having pleasure, especially sexual pleasure. I mean, make a nice pair of soft cotton underwear with a French tickler built in. Women would be coming all day long. Coming in the supermarket, coming on the subway, coming happy vaginas. They wouldn't be able to stand it. Seeing all those energized, not talking shit, hot, happy vaginas. If my vagina could talk, it would talk about itself, like me. It would talk about other vaginas. It would do vagina impressions. It would wear Harry Winston diamonds. No clothing, just draped in diamonds. My vagina helped release a giant baby. It thought it would be doing more of that. It's not. Now it wants to travel. It doesn't want a lot of company. It wants to read and know things and get out more. It wants sex. It loves sex. It wants to go deeper. It's hungry for depth. It wants kindness. It wants change. It wants silence and freedom and gentle kisses, warm liquids and deep touch. It wants chocolate. It wants to scream. It wants to stop being angry. It wants to come. It wants to want. It wants. My vagina, well, it wants everything.
Bosnian women refugees were interviewed during the war in Yugoslavia, in refugee camps and centers. 20 to 70,000 women were raped in the middle of Europe as a systematic tactic of war. It was shocking to see how little people did to stop it. But then again, in the United States in the last year, over 500,000 women were raped, and at that time we were not at war. This monologue is based on one woman's story. We do it tonight for that woman and the extraordinary women of Bosnia and Kosovo.
My vagina was green, water-soft pink fields, cow mooing, sun resting, sweet boyfriend touching lightly with soft piece of blonde straw. There is something between my legs. I do not know what it is. I do not know where it is. I do not touch, not now, not anymore, not since. My vagina was chatty. Can't wait, so much saying words, talking, can't quit trying, can't quit saying, oh yeah, oh yeah. Not since I dreamed there's a dead animal sewn in down there with thick black fishing line. And the bad dead animal smell cannot be removed. And its throat is slit, and it bleeds through all my summer dresses. My vagina singing all girl songs, all goat bell ringing songs, all wild autumn field songs, vagina home songs. Not since the soldiers put a long thick rifle inside me. So cold, steel rod canceling my heart. Don't know whether they're gonna fire it or shove it through my spinning brain. 6 of them, monstrous doctors with black masks, shoving bottles up the tube. There were sticks and the end of a broom. My vagina swimming river water, clean, spilling water over sun-baked stones, over stone clit stones, over and over. Not since I heard the skin tear and made lemon screeching sounds. Not since a piece of my vagina came off in my hand, a part of the lip. Now inside of the lip is completely gone. My vagina, a live, wet water village. My vagina, my hometown. Not since they took turns for 7 days, smelling like feces and smoked meat. They left their dirty sperm inside me. I became a river of poison and pus, and all the crops died, and the fish. My vagina, a wet, live water village. We invaded it, butchered it, and burnt it down. I do not touch now, do not visit. I live someplace else now, but I don't know where that is.
Safety, protection, or comfort. This is a woman's story as she told it. What isn't in the story is the fact that this woman met another woman in a shelter and they fell in love. And through their love, they both got out of the shelter system. The little coochie snorcher that could.
December 1965, 5 years old. My mama tells me in a scary, loud, life-threatening voice to stop scratching my coochie snorcher. I become terrified that I've scratched it off down there. I cannot touch myself down there again, even in the bath. I'm afraid of the water getting in and filling me up, so I explode. I put Band-Aids on my coochie to cover the hole, but they fall off in the water. I imagine a stopper, a bathtub plug up there to prevent things from entering me. I sleep with 3 pairs of happy, heart-patterned cotton underpants on under my snap-up pajamas. I still want to touch myself down there sometimes, but I don't. 7 years old. Edgar Montaigne, who was 10, gets angry with me and punches me with all his might between my legs. Feels like he breaks me, my entire self. I limp home. I can't pee. My mama asks me what's wrong with my coochie snorcher. And when I tell her what Edgar did to me, she yells at me and says, never let anyone touch me down there again. I try to explain, he didn't touch me, Mama. He punched me. 9 years old. I play on the bed, bouncing and falling, and I impale my coochie snorcher on the bedpost. I make a high-pitched screaming noise that comes straight out of my coochie snorcher. I get taken to the hospital and they sew it up down there from where it's been torn apart. 10 years old. I'm at my father's house and he's having a party upstairs. Everyone's drinking. I'm playing alone downstairs in the basement. I'm trying on my new cotton white bra and panties that my father's girlfriend gives me. When suddenly my father's best friend, this big man, Alfred, he comes up from behind and pulls my new underpants down and sticks his big, hard penis into my coochie snorcher. I scream and I kick. I try to cut him off, but he's already inside me. My father's there, and he has a gun, and there's a loud, horrible noise. And then there's blood all over Alfred and me. Lots of blood. I'm sure my coochie smoocher is finally gone now. Alfred is paralyzed for life. And my mama, she doesn't let me see my father for 7 years. 13 years old. My coochie smoocher is a very bad place of pain and nastiness, punching, invasion, and blood. It's a sight for mishaps. I imagine a freeway between my legs, and I am traveling, going far away from here. 16 years old, there's this gorgeous 24-year-old woman in our neighborhood, and I stare at her all the time. And she says she wants to show me something, and she leans over and kisses me so softly on the lips with her lips, and then puts her tongue in my mouth, and wow. Whoa. She asks me if I want to come over to her house, and then she kisses me again and tells me to relax, to feel it, to let our tongues feel it. She asked my mama if I can spend the night at her house, and my mother is delighted that such a beautiful, successful woman has taken the time and interest in me. I'm scared and I can't wait. Her apartment is fantastic. She's got it hooked up. It's the 70s with beads and fluffy pillows and mood lights. I decide right then and there, I want to be a secretary. Just like her when I grow up. She makes vodka for herself and then asks me what I want to drink, and I say the same as she's drinking. She says that she doesn't think my mother would like me drinking vodka, and I say she probably wouldn't like me kissing other girls either. And the pretty lady makes me a drink. Then she changes into this chocolate satin teddy. She's so beautiful. I always thought gold-daggers were ugly. I say, you look great. She says, so do you. I say, but I only have on this white cotton bra and underpants. Then she dresses me slowly in another satin teddy. It's lavender like the first days of spring. The alcohol has gone to my head and I'm loose and ready. And a picture over her bed of a black woman with a huge afro. She gently and slowly lays me on the bed, and just as our bodies rub together, makes me come. She's done everything to me in my coochie smoocher that I always thought was nasty before, but now, wow. I am so hot, so wild. She says, your vagina, untouched by a man, smells so nice, so fresh. Wish I could keep it that way forever. I get crazy and then the phone rings. And of course it's my mom. And I'm sure she knows. She catches me at everything. And I'm breathing heavy. And I try to act normal when I answer the phone and she said, what's wrong with you? Have you been running? No, Mom, I'm just exercising. Then she tells the beautiful secretary to make sure that I'm not around boys. And the lady tells her, trust me. There are no boys around here. Afterwards, the gorgeous lady teaches me everything about my coochie smoocher. She makes me play with myself in front of her, and she teaches me all the different ways to give myself pleasure. She is very thorough. She tells me to always know to give myself pleasure, so I'll never need to rely on a man. In the morning, I'm worried that I've become a butch because I'm so in love with her. She laughs, but I never see her again. I realize later that she was my surprising, unexpected, and politically incorrect salvation. She transforms my sorry-ass coochie smoocher and raised it into a kind of heaven.
give it or that I hooked. My short skirt is not begging for it. It does not want you to rip it off me or pull it down. My short skirt is not a legal reason for raping me. Although it has been before, it will not hold up in the court. My short skirt, believe it or not, has nothing to do with you. My short skirt is about discovering the power of my lower calves, about cool, on-air traveling up my inner thighs, about allowing everything I see or pass or feel to live inside. My short skirt is not proof that I'm stupid or undecided or a malleable little girl. My short skirt is my defiance. I will not let you make me afraid. My short skirt is not showing off. This is who I am, before you maybe cover it or tone it down. Get used to it. My short skirt is happiness. I can feel myself on the ground. I am here. I am hot. My short skirt is a liberation flag in the Women's Army. I declare these streets and the streets my vagina's country. My short skirt is turquoise water with swimming colored fish, a summer festival in the starry dark, a bird calling, a train arriving in a foreign town. My short skirt is a wild spin, a full breath, a tango dip. My short skirt is initiation, appreciation, excitation. But mainly, my short skirt and everything under it is mine. Mine. Mine.
What does your vagina smell like? Earth, wet garbage, God, water, a brand new morning,
Death, sweet ginger, sweat.
It depends.
musk, me.
No smell, I'm told.
Pineapple, Charlie's Essence, Paloma Picasso.
Earthy meat and musk, cinnamon and cloves, roses. Spicy, musky jasmine forest, deep, deep forest.
Damp moss, yummy candy, South Pacific.
Somewhere between fish and lilacs.
Peaches, the woods, ripe fruit, strawberries, kiwis.
Heaven, vinegar and water, light sweet liqueur. Cheese.
Ocean, sexy, a sponge.
The beginning.
Here is an outrageous vagina fact from the book The Technology of Orgasm by Rachel Maines. It is illegal to sell vibrators in the following states: Texas, Ohio, Georgia, and Arkansas. If you are caught with intent to sell, you could receive a $10,000 fine and face up to 1 year of hard labor. It is totally illegal to sell guns in all of these states. We have yet to hear of a mass murder committed with a vibrator.
In 2000, Eve Ensler traveled to Afghanistan. There she witnessed firsthand what misogyny would look like if it were to totally fulfill itself. Under the Taliban, women were essentially living the lives of waking corpses. This monologue is for the brave, tender, fierce women of Afghanistan, who not only survived, but kept their country alive. This piece is not about the burqa per se. Wearing one is obviously a matter of culture and choice. It's about a time and a place when women had no choice, under the burqa.
Imagine a huge, dark piece of cloth hung over your entire body, like you were a shameful statue. Imagine there's only a drop of light, enough
to know it's still daylight for others. Imagine it's hot, very hot. Imagine you're being encased in cloth, drowning in fabric in darkness. Imagine you're begging in this bedspread, reaching out your hand inside the cloth, which must remain covered, unpolished, unseen, or they might smash it or cut it off. Imagine no one is putting rupees in your invisible hand, because no one can see your face, so you do not exist. Imagine you cannot find your children, because they came for your husband, the only man you ever loved, even though it was an arranged marriage. Because they came and shot him. You tried to defend him, and they trampled you, 4 men on your back, in front of your screaming children. Imagine you went mad. But you did not know you were mad because you hadn't seen the sun in years, and you remembered your true daughters vaguely, like a dream, the way you remember the sky. Imagine muttering as a way of talking, because words did not form anymore in the darkness. And you did not cry because it got too hot and wet in there. Imagine bearded men that you could only decipher by their smell, beating you because your socks were white. Imagine being flogged in the streets in front of people you could not see. Imagine no peripheral vision, so like a wounded animal, you could not defend yourself or even duck from sideward blows. Imagine that laughter was banned throughout your country in music, and the only sounds you heard were the muffled sounds of the Azun, or the cries of other women flogged inside their clock inside the dark. Imagine you had no place to live, your only roof was the clock as you wandered the streets in this tomb. It was getting smaller and smellier every day. You were beginning to walk into things. Imagine suffocating while you were still breathing. Imagine you could no longer distinguish between living and dying, so you stopped trying to kill yourself because it would be redundant. Imagine me inside of the darkness in you. I am caught there, I am lost there. Inside the clock, which is your head, inside the dark we share, imagine you can see me. I was beautiful once, big dark eyes, you would know me.
We've been threatening to create a map of all the vagina-friendly cities. There are many surprises. That you didn't know, for example, that they love vaginas in Oklahoma City. It's important to spread that around. Mainly because they wouldn't advertise this piece there because all the papers are Christian run. And we know Christians don't have vaginas. But a wonderful vagina fairy tale occurred. That's a VFT. They're happening in cities all over the world. A group of fabulous women from Oklahoma City with hairdos became subversive. They handed out pocketbook-sized flyers at supermarkets and beauty salons telling people to come to the vagina monologues. They only advertised on subversive systems like email. By the third night, women were pulling up in their pickup trucks, bringing their own chairs.
They're wild for vaginas in Pittsburgh. It's almost a vagina holiday zone. Who knew? A woman from Pittsburgh was obsessed about a particular word, a pejorative word used to describe the vagina. Her mission was to reconceive the word, reclaiming cunt.
I call it
then cool, then curvy, inviting, shark skin, uniform, under, up, urge, you, then then N, con, little letters fitting perfectly together, con, nest, now, nexus, nice, always, depth, always, round and uppercase, con, a jagged, wicked electrical pulse, then soft, warm, con, then teeth, sharp, certain, tangy teeth, tantalizing, tensing, taste, tendrils, time, tactile, tell me, cunt! Cunt, say it! Tell me, cunt! Cunt!
A 6-year-old girl is asked, if your vagina got dressed, what would it wear?
Red high tops and a Mets cap worn backwards.
If it could speak, what would it say?
It would say words that begin with V and T, like turtle and violin.
What does your vagina remind you of?
A pretty dark peach, or a diamond I found, and it's a treasure. It's all mine.
What's special about your vagina?
Somewhere deep inside, it has a really, really smart brain.
What does it smell like?
A snowflake.
Sex workers have rich, compelling, complex relationships with their vaginas. This particular woman blows my mind. She was a sex worker, but she only did sex work with women. The woman who loved to make vaginas happy.
I love vaginas. I love women. Women pay me to dominate them, to excite them, to make them come. I didn't start out this way. No, to the contrary. I started out as a lawyer. But in my early 30s, I became obsessed with making women happy. It became this mission of sorts. But then I got very involved in it. I got very good at it. Kind of brilliant. I got paid for it. It was as if I had found my calling. I wore outrageous outfits when I dominated women. Lace, silk, and leather. And I used props. Whips, handcuffs, ropes, dildos. There's nothing like this in tax law. No wetness, no dark, mysterious foreplay, no erection nipples, no delicious mouths. But mainly, there is no moaning. Not the kind I'm talking about anyways. This was the key I see now. Moaning was the thing that ultimately seduced me and got me addicted to making women happy. When I was a little girl, I would see women in the movies making love, making strange orgasmic noises. I used to laugh. I got strangely hysterical. I couldn't believe that big, outrageous, ungoverned sounds like that came out of women. I longed to moan. I practiced in front of the mirror, moaning in various keys and tones. But always, when I played it back, it sounded fake. It was fake. It wasn't rooted in anything sexual, only my desire to be sexual. But when I was 10, I had
had to pee really bad once on a car trip. I went on for almost an hour, and when I finally got to pee in this dirty little gas station, it was so exciting, I moaned. I moaned as I peed. I realized right then that moans are connected with not getting what you want right away, with putting things off. I realized moans are best when they caught you by surprise, but they came out of this dark, mysterious part of you. Speaking its own language, I realized that moans were in fact that language. I became a moaner. It made most men nervous. Actually, it terrified them. I was loud, and they couldn't concentrate on what they were doing. Then they lose focus, and then they lose everything. We couldn't make love in people's homes. I was too loud. And I got a reputation in my building. People stared at me in contempt in the elevator. Men thought I was intense, and some even called me insane. I began to feel bad about moaning. I got quiet and polite. I learned to choke my moan and hold it back like a sneeze. I began to get stress headaches and other stress-related disorders. I was becoming hopeless when I discovered women. I discovered most women loved my moaning, but more importantly, I discovered that how excited I got when I made another woman moan. I made love to quiet women, and I found this place inside of them, and they shocked themselves in their moaning. I made love to moaners and found a deeper, more penetrating moan. It was a kind of surgery, a kind of delicate science. Finding the tempo, finding the right location, the home of the moan, that's what I used to call it. Sometimes I found it over a woman's jeans, sometimes I used force, but not violent, oppressive force. No, more like, sit back now, enjoy the ride. It's kind of force. Sometimes it was simply mundane. I found the moan before things even started, while we were eating salad or chicken, just casual, just right there mixed in with balsamic vinegar. Sometimes I used props. I loved props. Sometimes I made a woman find her moan right there in front of me. I waited. I stuck it out until she opened herself. I wasn't fooled with the minor, more obvious moans. No, I pushed her further, all the way into her power moan. Students.
All right, class. First, there's the clit moan. The vaginal moan. The outdoor clit vaginal moan. The almost moan. The right on it moan. Oh, yes! The elegant moan. The grace slick moan. The Jewish moan. Oy vey!
surprise, triple orgasm moment.
This piece was performed for some time without any mention of birth. This was a bizarre omission. But then again, a male journalist recently asked, what's the connection? Our author, Eve Ensler, was present for the birth of her granddaughter. She was in awe of vaginas before that moment. She's in deep worship now. I was there in the room.
I was there when her vagina opened. We were all there, her mother, her husband, and I. And the nurse in the Ukraine with her whole hand up there in her vagina, feeling and turning with her rubber glove as she talked casually to us, like she was turning on a loaded faucet. I was there in the room when the contractions made her crawl on all fours, made unfamiliar moans leak out of her pores. And still there after hours when she just screamed, suddenly wild, her arms striking at the electric air. I was there when her vagina changed from a shy sexual hole to an archaeological tunnel, a sacred vessel, a Venetian canal, a deep well with a tiny stuffed child inside, waiting to be rescued. I saw the colors of her vagina. They changed. Saw the bruised, broken blue, the blistering tomato red, the gray pink, the dark. Saw the blood like perspiration along the edges. Saw the yellow, white liquid, the shit that clots, pushing out all the holes, pushing harder and harder. Saw through the hole the baby's head, scratches of black hair. Saw it just there behind the bone, a hard brown memory, as the nurse from Ukraine kept turning and turning her slippery hand. I was there when each of us, her mother and I, held a leg and spread her wide, pushing with all our strength against her pushing, and her husband sternly counting 1, 2, 3, telling her to focus harder. We looked into her then. We couldn't get our eyes out of that place. We forget the vagina, all of us. What else would explain our lack of awe, our lack of reverence? I was there when the doctor reached in with Alice in Wonderland spoons. And there's her vagina became a wide, operatic mouth, singing with all its strength. First the little head, then the grave flopping arm, then the fast swimming body swimming quickly into our weeping arms. I was there later when I turned and faced her vagina. I stood and let myself see her all spread, completely exposed, mutilated, swollen and torn, bleeding all over the doctor's hands who calmly sewed her there. I stood and her vagina suddenly became a wide, pulsing red heart. The heart is capable of sacrifice. So is the vagina. The heart is able to forgive and repair. It can change its shape and let us in. It can expand and let us out. So can the vagina. It can ache for us and stretch for us, die for us, and bleed us into this difficult, wondrous world was there in the room. I remember.